Welcome to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 205 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Ali Miller, and if you want to know more about what to listen to when you empty the dishwasher, stay tuned. Chiro Hustle podcast, Ali Miller coming in from Canada, and you're right outside Toronto, eh?
That's right. Yeah, nice to use the A there, almost.
I had to get in early.
Yeah, perfect. Good work.
So it's really awesome to have you on. I know a couple, I think it was like a year ago, we were up in Toronto in July.
Yeah, that was last summer. Yeah.
And we had a chance to go to a soccer game with you.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was nice. And it actually rained. I live in Colorado. Luke and I live in Colorado, and rain, like we wish it would rain more.
And it was a beautiful, like crazy hot day, and then the skies just opened up. Yeah.
Perfect day. But on this episode, we're going to get to know you a little bit, and we're going to share some ideas back and forth with you about the chiropractic profession. We're going to talk to you about your career, where you see things, how they might be going in the future of chiropractic, and then just some really cool stuff. But first, we just want to welcome you onto our show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, right?
Yeah, for sure. We finally made it happen.
Only 800 episodes into our career. But you are 205 of our releases. So as we develop into this conversation with you, first thing we always like to ask the chiropractors that we get to touch base with is, tell us your story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor, and some of those things that inspire you.
Perfect. So I was, my story isn't like some chiropractors where they've been a chiropractic patient and had their generations and generations of chiropractors. Not even close. I actually grew up in a very almost like medical minded family. But I always had an interest in kids, and my passion was with kids. So, in high school, I taught swimming lessons, and I was a camp counselor, and I did lots of babysitting and all of that kind of stuff. And I was always interested in healthcare. And so I kind of started my university careers in, life science and anatomies and physiologies and all of that. And while I was at university, my mom used to suffer from really bad headaches. And so after years and years and years of suffering, she was led to a chiropractor and obviously had great results and just changed her life. So that was my first kind of experience of chiropractic, was through my mom. Then in talking with him, I kind of applied to chiropractic school up here in Canada, and I went. And again, I didn't really know much about chiropractic at that time. I had been adjusted once before going into school and kind of learning how to adjust and going through technique class. But while I was at school, I got exposed to some great chiropractors and some great groups affiliated with like pediatric chiropractic. So I started to kind of see this other side, so to speak. And I just learned more and more and more. And I ended up, my husband and I were already married when I went to school. So we decided to have a child while I was still at school. And again, I chose a midwife to care for me during my pregnancy, and I had a home birth, and we kind of chose these chiropractic lifestyle choices right from the get-go. And my life has just kind of evolved in time, being more certain in the principle and leading that lifestyle with my family, and then opening a practice. And so kind of at the end of all of this, I literally could take this passion for what I love to do with kids and then now apply it with this chiropractic skill that I had. And, now every day is just a joy.
That's cool.
So what are some things that would make you unique or make you stand out from other chiropractors?
I think I have a really good ability to connect with like moms and their kids. So again, because this is something that I've done from a young age myself, where kids are drawn to me and I'm drawn to them and we have a great relationship. I am a mom. I get them. I know what's happening in their lives. I find it really easy to connect with them. They connect with me. I have a bit of a weird memory where I can remember the smallest of details. So I build strong relationships with them and with their kids, and it grows from there. And obviously, you know, they tell their siblings and they tell their neighbors, and obviously it just helps everyone in every way.
I think what really makes you unique now is you started this Mom Minute show that you're doing, and you're connecting with your community local and inside of the chiropractic profession with these little messages, these little solo episodes that you're doing, and you're releasing those, and you're connecting with people.
For sure. That's a huge piece, right? And my practice is primarily, you know, moms and their kids. And so it brought together so many pieces of the puzzle where I could share this information with moms who could hear the wins of, you know, my life, but also challenges that other moms are going through. And they could hear an exercise tip or a nutrition hack or whatever it may be, to just kind of inspire them and make their day a little bit better and in turn their life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are some mantras that you live your life by, or what are some favorite motivational quotes you have?
I have had many over the years. 2020 has kind of brought me a new one. Obviously, it's been quite an interesting year, a hard one. You know, mentally, I think it's been hard on many of us, right? Just to kind of have everything challenged and your beliefs challenged. It's been a real challenge in practice. We were shut down here in Canada for a good 10 weeks where we couldn't be in practice, just seeing like emergency type patients. And so during that time, I had found this quote that said, "The comeback is stronger than the setback." And literally that has been, it's my screensaver on my phone since about April, where when I open up the phone, that's what I see. And it kind of just, coming back with more certainty and making sure that the message is getting out there and taking care of my community to make sure that all of us kind of recover from this in every sense of the word better than how we were when we went into it.
Yeah, I think it was Les Brown that said, if you get knocked down 9 times, get up 10.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like this year, let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth into, being resilient and learning through it. And, I could go on and on about, chiropractors being shut down. I think that there's a huge confusion in the medical market when they think that, shutting down chiropractic is effective for a community not to have those services. I don't know where those ideas come from. It's not a health decision. So for me to speak on that, me not being a chiropractor, I just think that chiropractors are essential to the advancement and development of our culture and this planet. And I think that when people get checked and adjusted regularly, they're just a better version of themselves. They're more healthy. They're more vibrant. And one of the things that you said early was headache. Like if people have headaches, which I think some crazy number of population has headaches, like if they don't have somebody to go to for those types of concerns, like your mom, they don't know where to go or who to trust, and they go down the wrong path. And then there's sometimes no return back to a better quality of life. So, that 10 weeks was a void in your guys' country for people to actually get services that are essential.
For sure. Yeah. And thank you for being a voice, for all of us too.
Well, me knowing it and me being able to articulate it, it's different hearing it from a journalistic perspective and somebody that's a megaphone for the profession rather than distilling it out of the chiropractor. Yeah. Because the chiropractor has a different narrative and the chiropractor has different eyes and ears listening to what they have to say. Whereas with journalistic freedom, that is something that we stand on. And that's why we exist, is to keep free speech alive in the chiropractic profession. And there's some things that I'll say that I wouldn't want you to say, just because I know that there's people out there that might not have the best intention towards this beautiful profession of chiropractic.
Right, exactly.
So that leads us to the next thing. What would it be like if, we could get everybody checked and adjusted for vertebral subluxation?
Well, our world would surely be a lot different and a lot better. I mean, if I just think of a small scale on my practice, right, and what I see, and I see, kids that live these happier, healthier lives, and then you see their parents getting adjusted, and now they're living these happier, healthier lives, and so all of a sudden, marriages are a little bit easier and stronger, and patience is better, and job enjoyment is better, and health is better, and energy level to do exercise and to stay fit is better, all these things. So literally the change and the benefits is like endless.
So where do you see chiropractic going in the next 20 years or so?
I see, well, and I mean, I definitely obviously hope, but I also see it exploding. I think this year especially has brought a lot of questions to a lot of people's minds as they kind of just look around and what they see and what they want, right? And so they want better, they want a different answer, they want someone to share hope or, a different alternative or a different perspective, whatever it may be. They want people to lead them by example, right? And living that lifestyle of, exercise and nutrition and a clear nervous system and all these different things. And chiropractors are who provide that, right? And so literally, I think it's going to explode. I think we're going to see some big, big changes.
And it goes back to, if you start taking stuff away from people, that like sets up a red flag for the population. Like, well, why did they shut that down? Like for me, like church, they shut churches down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So since they shut down churches, guess who goes to church all the time?
Exactly, right? What are you missing? It's a little bit of FOMO.
Yeah, but I think that, that's what people are doing with like gyms. When they shut down gyms, what the heck? Like it's now not okay to like be fit.
Exactly.
It's now not okay to like see a chiropractor. Like when you start removing that stuff, that like makes people like have a different like sensibility to themselves to say, you know what? Maybe I should go see a chiropractor. Maybe I should go to the gym. Maybe I should go to church.
There you go.
Some of these things that, that were like taken away that don't make real like logical sense to like the general population. We're like, okay, well, who can I trust? We get mixed messaging every day on the trust factor of knowledge and information. So I think Napoleon Hill said it the best, like you have to know, like, and trust who you go to or who you connect yourself with. And I think that you're right. The chiropractor now has a wider door open to say, hey, we are the know, like, and trust in the health industry. And we help babies. We help moms. We help pregos. We help headaches. Yeah, we help car crashes. We help this. We help that. We help, the top level athletes in the world. Like every top level athlete in the world gets adjusted, period. And if the top level athlete wants the highest level of performance, why wouldn't the top level mom want the top level performance for their families and for themselves?
Exactly.
So yeah, connecting the dots is something that we love to do with our show. I think that's what makes us so unique in this space is non-being chiropractors. We can facilitate the conversation and really shine a spotlight on some of these sore spots within like the decision making that kind of suffocates the chiropractic truth, and we just let it live.
Yeah, and it is getting out there, right? I mean, we all see it in our practices, right, where people are finding you, they're looking for you, right? And it's not even necessarily just word of mouth. Now they're Googling at 2 a.m. to figure things out. And then all of a sudden they come across you and they find you and they call. And so it's happening slowly, but it's happening.
So could you maybe tell us who are some of your heroes that you've had throughout your journey as a doctor? And maybe if you could only pick one of them, who would you have lunch or coffee with for an hour?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I think early on in school, one of the first chiropractors that I was exposed to was Dr. Liz Anderson Peacock. And so she's a fellow Canadian chiropractor, and again, had a very successful pediatric practice when we were still in school. She was probably, I think maybe she was the first one to actually check my eldest daughter when she was born. And so she was someone I definitely looked up to, right? She was a woman. She was a chiropractor. She had this practice that I wanted. She's great at communicating. And so forever, I obviously just kind of had her up here and wanted to be like her. Over time I've done, I've had her teach me, and, now I would consider ourselves obviously colleagues and friends. She was definitely one early on, and I do get to sit down for lunch with her sometimes. Another one, obviously more recently in the chiropractic world, would be Tony Ebel. So again, anything that comes out of his mouth and in his new pediatric experience is just great, right? I mean, his style of communication, his level of knowledge and certainty and in science, all of that is just so amazing. And then how he can teach and how he can share that with every single person, kid, parent, grandparent, whoever it is amazing. And I think, obviously, I learn lots from him, and I would, tune into anything he does. As far as other heroes in life, I'm a big sports fan. So I love kind of, that kind of fun stuff too, right? So the big, great, NHL players and different things, Olympians that I just kind of love watching, and I like hearing their stories, right? And I love their passion for their sport and their commitment to their sport and their sacrifice on kind of all these things to get to be the best in the world, essentially. They would be really fun to sit down with at any time, as would, big superstar singers like Pink or a Jennifer Lopez or someone like that would be pretty darn fun to sit down with too, right? Because I think we see all the glory that they kind of have, but it would be neat to hear about all the hours of work and training and all the stuff that they do behind the scenes to make themselves who they are too.
I feel the same way when we get a chance to sit down with a chiropractor.
Okay.
Seriously, I feel like, the chiropractor gets through school, they start practice, and like with you even, like we get a chance to, share a conversation with you, and you've been through a whole career of learning and teaching, facilitating, building relationships, and then to be able to tell your story is so honorable for us, because I think that that's really what we get a chance to do, is showcase people. And when you have a chance to connect with people, now we're in better alignment. And sharing the story of chiropractic is something that I think more people need to know.
Yeah.
And you could say, hey, an NHL player is somebody that's really cool. And I guess that's cool to you. But I mean, whenever we think about like a hero, we think about, somebody that inspires us.
Right.
Like we just interviewed Les Brown. Like that guy's a massive hero to both of us, just because his willingness to like step into it and
right.
to tell it and to be unique and to like have like some type of like a message. So I think you're right, being able to like connect with, performers, athletes. I love that type of answer to that question.
Yeah.
And then Liz, what a gem, right?
For sure. She's a superstar.
Yeah. And for us to be able to do as many connections that we've made, it showcases the messaging of chiropractic. And, the greatest thing will be is one day you might share this with your practice and your practice members, this episode, and they can really learn a little bit more about you. And that's something that's super unique about these interviews too, is that now you're going to share this with your audience and you're going to share this with your friends and family, and they're going to be able to say, wow, that's the Ali that I didn't know.
Yeah, you're right? Because they know a little certain piece of me, but maybe not the whole picture. Yeah.
So then they're going to say, wow, she likes Pink and Jennifer Lopez.
That's right.
So who's your NHL team, since we're talking to a Canadian?
Oh, come on. That's a silly question. Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah. Yeah. We're a diehard in this house. We keep getting close, but not close enough. But that's okay. One of these days.
Feels like a Cubs fan.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
So as we move into the conversation with you, I know that chiropractors are always edging towards marketing, and they're always thinking, hey, how can I like grow the practice? How can I connect with more people? Is it Yellow Pages? Is it Yelp? Is it Facebook ads? Is it screening events? And the biggest aha moment we've had since we've kind of retooled our questions was, let's ask people to tell things that didn't work. So maybe you could share with us some marketing ventures that you tried that didn't work, and then follow that up with some stuff that did work.
Okay. I think a huge piece of marketing is kind of what you want to do, right? Because you will put in the effort and I don't know, just your joy of whatever that event is kind of speaks in the results, right? So I was never a huge fan of a big, a mall screening or something like that. Just when I started practice, my family was young and I didn't necessarily want to take time on a Saturday afternoon away from them to be at the screenings. And so it wasn't for me, right? And I never, ever saw the results that I wanted to see. And, in Canada also, we are pretty restricted in what we can and can't say. So even in our social stuff, we have to be very careful on, not saying certain words or not claiming certain claims or this kind of stuff. So it does get a little bit tough in finding those methods of marketing that actually work or that bring us success. For me, the biggest ones have always been obviously in office stuff. I'm a little bit of an old school connector with my people, right? So, it's that connection with the moms. It's knowing that it's a mom's 40th birthday next weekend, and I show up at her house and drop off a bouquet of flowers, on the Friday as a surprise, and she's floored, and that ends up on her Instagram, and it kind of goes from there. Or, I just set up this morning a fall event for the families in my office to kind of go, apple picking and on hay rides and this kind of stuff, right? So it's these different marketing events that aren't about necessarily signing up the new patients, but it's about retaining and giving back to the ones that I already have. And those in turn kind of end up, bringing me more in the end. And it's also, I think, what I like to do, right? I love to connect with these people all the time. And that has just brought me success in bringing new people into the office.
So you're a nurturer.
I'm a nurturer.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Chiro Tax Pro, and Digital Hustle. Let's hustle.
I am. Yep.
You got some lucky kids.
Thank you. I'll make sure that they listen to this for sure to hear that part.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you for sharing that, because so many times when we go down that marketing journey, chiropractors will try anything. You'll try to put your image on, yesterday we interviewed Sean Powers, and she's like, yeah, I put my picture, my message on bus stop benches. I put my advertisement on the shopping cart things.
Right.
And chiropractors, chiropractors will try pretty much anything to figure out how to tap into the market. And there's always some guru out there that says, do this.
Right.
And then the chiropractor's like, okay, how much is it?
Exactly.
But yeah, I think it's cool also that you have a connection with Tony. If you didn't know, he's an Iowa boy as well, and I am too.
Oh, for sure.
I have a fondness in my heart for Mr. Tony.
Yeah, me too.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to a chiropractic student? And also, should they be picking their schools based on geographic location?
So I'm going to answer the second part first. I would say no to picking geographic location. Being up here in Canada, we obviously have our one main school. And at the time that I had heard about chiropractic and was looking into it, I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. And I went to school with what was up here and what was close. obviously knowing what I know now, I would make a different decision. Or if any of my girls were to kind of want to go to chiropractic school, I would encourage them differently. But for sure, we have some strong schools that, teach the principle of chiropractic, and that's what we want the new chiropractors to come out with. So I think potential students need to know kind of what they want to do and where they want to go with it, and then choose accordingly. New grads coming out, and I think a lot of my advice would go to, just because again I'm a female chiropractor and a mom, my advice over the years, and some of those students have reached out to me, or new moms in practice have reached out to me, is that it's a tricky balance, this whole mom and chiropractor. And I would really advise people to just give yourself some grace on all of that, because, there are going to be moments that as a mom, that takes priority. And so maybe the practice doesn't grow as fast as you're thinking it's going to grow, or maybe you're not seeing the numbers that so-and-so down the street is seeing, but that's okay if that's what you want. And there's going to be other moments where you're in practice and you're going to miss something as a mom, and that's okay too, because you're serving your community at that time. So it's really about just figuring out what you want as the chiropractor, and being okay with that, right? So not everybody has to see, 1,000 patients a week. Not everyone has to be in the office 5 days a week. You really have to pick what you want for your whole life and your family life and the balance, and then be okay with that and just go after it.
Yeah, I think what you're saying really matters, is because a lot of times I find in the profession that somebody wants to build a practice off someone else's vision. Mm-hmm. And that can really be out of congruency for what is actually in front of you, which is your family and, your own personal health and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of cases where a chiropractor's like, well, I have to see this many visits a week. I have to see this many people a week. I have to have this PVA. I have to have this metric. And really they lose themselves in the process. And then what happens is their rotator blows out in their shoulder, or their L5 thins out and they didn't know. And the next thing you know, that the practice starts to dissolve. So I think that what you're saying is super important, and making sure that any student that's considering chiropractic knows that philosophy of chiropractic is massive. So I think that what you're saying, by picking a school, each school should be producing chiropractors with good technique. I couldn't see how somebody could go to university and a graduate program to become a doctor and not come out with the proficiency to locate, detect, and correct vertebral subluxations. If they're doing that, then I'm not sure what's happening in a chiropractic school. But, I think that what you said is important, because when people do pick a school, they should pick a philosophically based school that they are learning. They shouldn't get out of school and not know what a green book is.
Right.
They shouldn't get out of school and not know what the chiropractic adjuster's book is. They shouldn't get out of school and not know what a Joe Strauss book is. I know that probably some of the curriculums that are encompassing for chiropractors to become chiropractors might not teach that stuff, but if they don't know who Reggie Gold is, they need to YouTube Reggie Gold. If they don't know who Sid Williams and Sigafus are, they need to go and YouTube these people, because sometimes the legends can be that thing that will fire you up to understand what happened before you in the profession. And I think that the road is really awesome after that, but business success also matters. So when you talk about how to structure it around your lifestyle, I don't know, I've never been to a chiropractic college or a course or any of that, but I think having mastery in business is something that's super important too. And maybe you could talk about that a little bit for us. Is how did you decide how to build the business around your lifestyle and your philosophy?
I think I was pretty, when I looked at some of those other practices, maybe while I was still in school, I think I can't even remember who suggested it to me and I would tell students the same thing, is to really go out and see other practices and get a feel for what you want yours to look like, right? What you want your practice to look like, but even what you also want your life to look like, right? Like how many shifts do you want to do in a week, and what do you want your vacation schedule to look like? And then to figure out which of those things are really important to you, and then to build the practice around that too, right? So for me, we had our first daughter while I was still at chiropractic school. And so when I graduated, she was in our graduating class picture, right? So she was in a year and a half and in the picture, and I was pregnant with our second one at that time. So right from the get-go of opening a practice, I had these two young kids, and obviously they were a huge piece of my life, and I wanted to have this flexibility. And so even as I built my schedule for the day, when the oldest got a little bit older and was going to school half days, I built it so that I could kind of run home from the office and grab her from where she was staying to be able to take her to school and pick her up from school and drop her back off and get back to the office, right? But those were things that were important to me. And it's amazing how you think that there maybe is this perfect little cookie cutter recipe that you're supposed to do to have this successful practice, but there's not, right? You really need to base it based on what you want and when you want to work and the people that you want to see and all this kind of stuff. And somehow it does all just come into place and builds the practice that you want.
That's really good advice.
So let's talk about you personally a little bit. What are some books that you like to read, and what are some other podcasts that you might enjoy listening to?
Podcasts, I kind of mix it up. So there's, there's so many that are really good right now, but I mean, and I can't catch every episode from every one of them. I have lots of friends that have podcasts, so I try and kind of listen to bits and pieces of theirs. I've listened to you guys. Know Melissa Longo is a great friend of mine who's had a podcast for a long time. I check hers out often with some of her guests. She Slays the Day is another great new one. And Lauren, I met years ago, and hers is always entertaining and funny. Just as far as reading, sometimes when I'm reading more, inspirational stuff or chiropractic stuff. And then sometimes it's totally just, out in left field, no brainer, just kind of escape and read something on vacation that really doesn't require too much, but just enjoyable.
Yeah, that's good. I think that it's important for us to take a break from, the mind that says, hey, everything has to be about work. Everything has to be about career. And I do think it's important just to have some escape brain time to say, hey, I'm just checking out, and this is something that's going to take me on a mind vacation. I think that's something that people don't realize during this, especially this COVID era. Yeah. That reading something could really be helpful for a mind vacation and take off some of the pressure and noise that people are feeling right now from being confused or whatever is kind of like the external effect, because the external effect has an internal effect. Yeah. I think that when people think about reading something or listening to something, they can actually, feel good about, a certain message, and it can be maybe their message of the day. So I love when you're talking about listening to other people's shows, and there are so many good shows out there. Yep. And self-publishing is it's off the charts right now. And, chiropractic podcasts, we need more of them. So, right. I think when you're saying, hey, I listened to my friend Melissa Longo, she's a chiropractor. She's one of the upstart, old school podcasts.
For sure.
And I think that when we talk about what you're doing, 80 some episodes in, you're a chiropractor, you're self-publishing, you're putting out content about a chiropractic profession that sorely needs media leverage. So I think that, talking about us maybe saying, hey, we'll listen to Reggie Gold, or, go do some YouTubes and find some inspiration from the old school. But also I think podcasting is something that's super important for the future, because that's where media and technology is going. And it's a passive connection. You can go grocery shopping and listen to Chiro Hustle.
Exactly.
You can go mountain biking and listen to the Rockstar Doctor Chiropractic podcast with Melissa Longo. like you can do, and people can go, pick up their kids from school and listen to the Mom Minute.
Right. Yeah. And that's when we were talking earlier, I said that, right? I wanted it to be easy, right? Like they're walking the dog or they're emptying the dishwasher or they're dropping their kids off at school or at dance. And it literally is that quick little, 8-10 minutes that's going to give them something of value, or maybe it's just going to give them a laugh, or maybe it's going to give them something to talk about, whatever it may be. But hopefully it's just, making things better.
And for me, I look at like information technology is if I see something that's like what we produce, 45 minutes, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to listen to something that's much of a, I don't want to buy into something that's much commitment.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I love that you're creating these little snippets for people to, buy into a small message. And I mean, if somebody sends me like a Facebook Messenger message with like some video about like the end of the world, I'm like, is it 3 minutes? Okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Our attention span isn't quite that long.
Well, we kind of like, if it's not captivating content, there's no reason to stick to it. Yeah. And I think that's what, we have to continuously reinvent ourselves, even after doing so many episodes of Hustle. Like I said to you today, hey, our questions were getting stale. I was tired of that shit. So I wanted to like reinvigorate the show with some goodness and some newness and, and maybe get some different types of conversations going, which I think we are. Like, yeah. I love what we're doing now more than the first 800 episodes we did.
Wow. And, and sometimes in listening to other things, you get ideas for, or you see the links to be able to connect other things, right? So for example, I remember, I think I did one of my episodes about a TV show that I had watched on TV, and it was again all about mother and kind of daughter relationships, but you could see in this TV show some common challenges that every mother kind of not on TV is also having those challenges, right? So then all of a sudden you kind of tie this together. So yeah, it was the hour break for me to kind of watch the show, but I pulled something of value from it that then I could use to kind of maybe share or teach something else with, right? So it's all great to take all the bits and pieces from all different things.
So what are some of your hobbies and what do you do for fun, either by yourself or with your family?
I'm all about fun. So I think exercise is a huge hobby of mine. So it's a big piece of my life that I do every single day. It was a bit of a savior for sure during this whole restricted lockdown, whatever you want to call it. And it's important to me just for myself and my health, but it's also important for me as a leader, right? And to lead by example for my community and also my daughters, right? To see what I'm doing and that I'm making it a big piece of my life and an important piece of my life. I love food. I love travel. My family loves concerts. We're really big concert goers, and, we love time with friends. So I really make an effort to make time for all of those things. And sometimes that gets tricky, right? Because all of us get tired on a Friday and you just kind of want to sit and do nothing. But I really make the effort to connect with different groups of friends and girlfriends sometimes and family sometimes. And it's a date night sometimes or whatever it may be. But all of those really fill my cup continuously.
So what are some websites you can give us? Where can people listen to your podcast, or what if they want to read more about you as a doctor? Where can they go?
So my main website for the practice is familyhealthchiropractic.ca, and all of the podcast episodes are on there, as well as all the information about the practice and newsletters and things that we're doing. The podcast is also on, Spotify and Google Play and iTunes and wherever else they may listen to a podcast. But the Family Health Chiropractic website is where they can find everything.
So at this juncture in our conversation with you today, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I think we hit it all. Plus you had some surprises for me, so that was good.
It was a good, well-rounded episode. I want to thank you for being our guest this morning.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. And like I said, you guys are doing some great things, and I'm really happy and honored to be a part of it.
Well, it's a blessing for us to be able to share your message with our greater audience. And thank you for being our guest today. And I look forward to connecting with you soon, okay?
For sure. Sounds good. Anytime.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.